Yeah. Okay. I'm just looking for it. Right. Okay. Yes, it was this one. This is a common forest species. It does look like the other two plants, but I actually what I do when I see a tall leafy goldenrod, there are other species of goldenrod, by the way, which are also somewhat different. A lot of them occur on sandy soils, but I actually just feel the stem. And if I can feel bristles, I know that it is the late goldenrod, so it's got to be one of the other two. If it's smooth, and especially if I can see that bluish bloom on it, then I know it's the late goldenrod, and that's the one I did see on Saturday, and that will be more under the trees. The other ones, if they occur, I would expect them to be sort of on the grassy edge of the river bank or something like that. But it's a difficult group. It used to be, well, I think the late goldenrod, the forest species has always been separated out, but the other two were actually uh, uh, joined under one Solidago canadensis. There was no distinction made between the two of them, and yes, I have difficulty. So again, you could say Solidago SP period if you're not sure, but I would just feel the stem. If it feels smooth, then I think you're good to go with late goldenrod.
Perfect. A couple more questions that we have here for you, Patsy. Jill would like to know if there are any fungi species that they should look out for. I feel like it's just vascular plants, but I might get someone else to clarify that.
Yes, I'm afraid I'm not very good on fungi. It is just vascular plants I've covered. I don't know. Are they included in the BioBlitz? Are they? I mean, there will be. There'll certainly be the bracket fungi on the trees, on the dead and dying trees. But in June, if it's a dry year, the chances are probably there won't be a lot of mushrooms popping up. But really, for someone getting into mushrooms, I would try and get somebody from the Mycological Society out to do a survey in the forest. That would be a good idea. Forests, of course, are very productive of mushrooms because it's the mushrooms that are doing all the decomposition of the wood and so on. So you do tend to, that is the place for mushrooms. So that's all I can suggest. Some of the bracket fungi are quite identifiable using Lenny Shalquick's book Mushrooms of the Edmonton Area. And probably even online. I think you could, there's some good blogs and things on fungi, but I actually didn't notice anything apart from the odd bracket fungus, and I wasn't really paying attention, so I can't help.
Sure, yeah. So Kelly has confirmed that fungi will not be a part of this year's BioBlitz. So that is great. And that we will be putting this recording on the BioBlitz webpage that I've shared a few times in the chat. So you will be able to rewatch this and kind of review it again. Cedric would like to know if you found any endangered or rare species when you went.
No, I didn't come across any rare species. I did go on at length about that bristle-leaved sedge, which I find uncommon. And I suppose I'm particularly interested in that because I first came across that in the mountains. And then when I found it in the lowlands, I thought, oh gosh, what's it doing here? We don't have a lot of rare or endangered species in the Edmonton area, or even in Alberta generally, all our forest species are very, very widespread across Canadian forests. There are, you know, obviously variations in occurrence and abundance and species, but a good resource that I use, I've used particularly for the new Latin names, because of course they're always updating the taxonomy, and when they do that, they change the Latin names, is a database called Canadensis bascan. Canadensis, SYS is the ending for Canadian system, and bascan, vascular plants of Canada. So Canadensis bascan, two words. And that's interesting because it gives you the distribution by province and territory of the species. So you have a search box, you put in the Latin name or the common name. As long as it's spelled correctly, it will get you to a page, and that will give you some taxonomic information, the full names and so on. But it will also give you, and the varieties if any exist. It will also give you the distribution, and you will see that many of our plants have a really wide distribution across Canada. So it's all in green from BC to to the Maritimes, and maybe not so far north necessarily, but often into Northern Territories and so on. And we have relatively few endemics in Alberta, meaning plants that only occur in Alberta. There's one or two, I believe, in the Athabasca sand dunes in the northeast and so on. But our forest species tend to be rather common. We do have rare plants. About a third of the flora is considered fairly rare, with fewer than 100 occurrences recorded. They tend to be in the grasslands or in the mountains or in the southwest. So not locally. But I just say that I personally don't particularly like this emphasis on rarity, because I sometimes wonder if we focus too much on rare plants, which are not really important ecologically necessarily, because there's few of them or they're so scattered. And we're actually losing populations of plants which are fairly common, but still not uncommon enough to hit the radar. And, you don't like to lose populations of plants anywhere. And as, the number of natural habitats diminish and so on, so do the possible locations for these plants. So I'm really interested in sort of knowing whether populations persist or whether they're lost, and in getting a much better understanding of the distribution of even the common plants.
Okay.
So a long-winded answer, I'm afraid.
No, that's great. It's great to have your insight, definitely. Does anyone else have any questions? We only have a few more minutes left. So if you have any kind of burning questions, now would be the time to ask Patsy. Okay, Rocky, go ahead.
I'm Piggin. If you see another hand, just cut me right off. You mentioned buckthorn, and then there was another thing that was very similar but smaller, but you also said it had...
Oh, I think that was the Cotoneaster, was it? The shiny...
No, it was another one, but if it's not coming right to you, we'll move on, because I can review your notes.
Yeah, was it a non-native?
Yes.
A non-native, okay.
You said there was a little bit of it that you saw. That's okay, I'll review this.
Yes, well, definitely that was true of the shiny Cotoneaster. I just saw, one or two plants. So I think it must have been that. Yeah, there was the, I didn't see the green ash, of course, although that was listed. Yeah, it must have been that. Yeah, I can't think what else with a simple leaf that looked a bit like the buckthorn. I could ask a question too. I mean, does anyone who knows the forest a lot better than I do, does anyone want to chip in and comment on say the abundance of any of these things, or indeed anything that I haven't covered that they know for a fact they've seen there? Does anyone have anything to contribute?
Can I be heard?
Sure.
So one thing I noticed when we did the survey last year was abundance of the buckthorn. I think you said they were relatively rare, but we found patches where it was very, very dense with buckthorn. So I think that is worthwhile keeping an eye for.
Okay, that's interesting then, because I didn't see much. And that definitely, if you're going to get on to managing the forest, yeah, that is one I would definitely try to get rid of. Yeah, that's bad if there is a lot more of it. Kelly, are you planning to do any kind of management, or are you still at the surveying stage and trying to, you know, map where things occur and so on?
So can people hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We are hoping to get a working group that helps us decide protocols in conjunction with the EALT to figure out what things we should focus our limited resources on and how to organize helpers to come out and help us. So of course the tansy has been on our minds, and Dave Ely alerted us to the buckthorn last year, but as any not-for-profit, we have only so much money to hire people to come and do that kind of labor. So it is on our agenda, but we are really hoping this year that we're going to be able to get a working group together to start organizing, you know, events to help deal with the invasive species.
Okay, good. Yes. Well, I'm sure you can use some volunteers as well to help out. Yeah, I mean, the sort of maxim is get at it before it spreads, and you know, so it becomes possible to actually remove or keep to a level where it is not you know, not aggressive. And yes, I was interested to see the trails with the blocked off by the colored stones and so on, and it's obviously a working forest in the sense that people are using it, the indigenous people are using it, and presumably, and the birders have got their nets up by the river, and so that's nice to see, and I think you should probably rope in the birders as well to do some manual labor and get them to pay for their netting privileges. Yeah, that's good. I'm still trying to sort of interpret what's going on. Unfortunately, from the aerial pictures, you can't sort of see the contours, so I can't sort of see the topography very well. But and as I say, that makes a difference to your plant populations. And certainly not completely familiar with the trail system. I think that yeah, I think it would bear some interpretive signage and some maybe directional signage maybe in places, but and even naming of the trails, like, you know, I would you know, name like River Trail or you know, White Spruce Trail or something like that. So you know, people can maybe you know, get a better sense of the geography. But anyway, just suggestions.
Those are good suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was so pleased to hear that you guys managed to avert the road coming through. I meant to mention that to Jim. That you know, when I heard you say that, you know, that is wonderful. The road that would have split up all those agricultural lands and so on, it would have been absolutely dreadful. So it's you know, quite an isolated, quiet, remote forest. So it's very pleasant to be in.
All right,
Yeah.
Kathy.
Can I?
Oh,
Can I ask a question in relation to the management of the BioBlitz? Will the plant list updated based on Patsy's presentation, or what is the plan related to that?
Hubert, we can talk about specifics about the BioBlitz at another time. We're going to try and focus on just concluding. We only have a few minutes left, but if you want to send me an email and ask me that, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
I think we should verify. I mean, as I say, I put in additional species here, and obviously I've not found some of them. So I think what we should do is not use this presentation as you know, as the bottom line, as it were, but try and verify everything this season so that we have an up-to-date list going forward, and that will happen every season, because of course the species lists are never really complete. They're always changing. And this was basically you know, to cover the plants that people could use for identification if they occur there, and don't assume that certainly that everything will be there.
Well, we have two really good volunteers, amazing volunteers. Big shout out to Miriam Mahaffey and Nathan Benema, who are making a pretty outstanding plant identification page on our website that people can access. It's not completed yet, but it's pretty big and it's pretty awesome. So they can use that. And I believe Nathan is the one that's taking your suggestions and updating the list. And as you say, Patsy, it'll be a continually, it's definitely not a static process, that's for sure.
Yeah.
perfect. All right, well, just being mindful of time, it is 7:59, and I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. So again, thank you all so much for coming, Patsy. That was a fantastic presentation and excellent questions from people. We all learned a lot, and I just want to thank you all for being here, and hopefully we will see you at the BioBlitz. So thanks so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take your time reading through the PDF of this. I gather this will be available, and you know, really studying the pictures, that should help, and then hopefully there'll be instant recognition when you're in the field. So thank you again for inviting me, and yeah, good night.
Thanks, everybody.